Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Steve. Today we're going to be replacing this under sink garbage disposal. On Thanksgiving I discovered mine was leaking from the bottom through I guess a hairline crack within the inner workings. And really the only solution appears to be to do an outright replacement. So it's a little bit more complicated than the things I normally do on this channel, but I think it's something that even I can do. Okay, so let's get started. So let's talk a little bit about what I have here. This is a Badger made by InSinkErator. Came with the house, which has been here about 13 years. This one has a power cable that plugs into this switch control here. And then from this switch control up on the top of the counter is a button that you can push to activate or deactivate the garbage disposal. So the first thing we want to do is we want to cut the power. So we're going to do that by unplugging here. Now, if you have a different setup and it's, say, hardwired into your wiring system, then you're going to want to go out to your fuse box and make sure that you throw the circuit breaker for this particular line. All right, just a quick word about whether you need to turn the water supply off or not. My recommendation is that you do not do it, and the reason is that, especially in older houses, the valves that you use to turn off the water can be degraded, and turning the knob will actually potentially cause a leak. So for this particular job, there is no real reason to turn off the water because there is no water flow in the drain. It's just connected drain pipes. The only real issue is if someone were to come along and turn on the water while you're working down there and there's no garbage disposal, the water's going to come down and get you all wet. So if you want to turn the water off, go for it, but I wouldn't recommend it for those reasons that I've outlined. So I have a 1/2 horsepower disposal currently installed. That's what came with the house. It's a little bit undersized for a full-size household like we have here. I went ahead and bought a full 1 horsepower replacement. That's probably a little bit bigger than I need, but there was a great Black Friday sale on this one, and it's a very highly rated model. I have a link for it down below. It's an Amazon affiliate link, so I do get a little bit of a cut from that if you use it, which I do appreciate. Also, you're probably going to want to pick up a Easy Connect cord. These do not come with this included, so I bought one of those as well. And then you'll also need some plumber's putty. You will see why later. All right, now we're going to remove the old garbage disposal. So the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure it is unplugged. We have done that. And I'm going to put a paint can underneath the garbage disposal. It fits under there almost perfectly. And the reason we're going to do that is eventually we're going to release the old unit from its bracket, and that way it won't fall. And they're kind of heavy, so that's good to support it. So just a quick note about this U-shaped pipe right here. This is what's called a P-trap, and you should have one. If you don't, you really should put one in. And if you do have one, make sure you don't rearrange the pipes in any way where you eliminate that connection. The purpose of this connection is so that when stuff goes down your drain and it goes out to the sewer, it goes over that U-shape, and it prevents odors from coming back up. And if you don't have it, then you're going to smell the sewage and everything else that's rotting in your pipes throughout the day. You don't want that. So make sure you have a P-trap, and if you do have one, leave it there. All right. Then we're going to remove our piping system here. So this is held on by these slip nuts here. So all we have to do is unscrew these two. Let's do this. If you find the nuts to be too tight, you may need to use a wrench. I recommend a channel lock. And over here. Now, before I do that, let me grab a tray because we're leaking water and I forgot to put the tray in there. So don't let that happen to you. This is just a small collection of water that's here in this U-shaped trap. So we're going to get that water collecting in our tray. We'll unscrew this, loosen it up, and then this should just pull down and away. And you can see that there's water here in the trap, and also some muck. So I'm going to dump that in there, and we'll wipe up the excess water here in a second. Okay, now the next thing is that this garbage disposal has a dishwasher connected to it. So we're going to disconnect the dishwasher hose that's up here. That's held on by a single flathead screw. So we'll undo that screw. Just need to loosen it a bit. This is called a hose clamp, and if it's rusted or brittle, you might want to consider replacing it. I put a link for one of those down in the description below. And then that should pull away. There could also be some water in here, but yeah, no, it's dry, so we're okay there. All right, so now the main parts are detached from the disposal. We're ready to remove it from the upper bracket up here. Okay, we're ready to drop our old garbage disposal out of its bracket where it's mounted here at the top. And so that's why we have the paint can already in place. I'm leaving my tray here just in case some water surprises me. I don't expect it to. And all right, so what we need to do is we're going to take our Allen wrench that should have come with a new garbage disposal, or you might actually have one of these that the old garbage disposal had nearby, because you can use this also to clear jams. So this is a piece that you don't want to, even after we're done installing the new one, you want to hold on to it. All right, so this is going to go up here, and we're going to insert it into this slot right here. And we'll get a close-up on that. And then we're going to pull it towards us, or it'll be a turn essentially to the left. So pull and turn, and we're pulling and turning here, and then it releases. And when it releases, it actually drops down. And so if you don't have a paint can here, that thing's going to go crashing down into the bottom of your cabinet, or you can try to hold it. That's why the paint can is great. You might need to find something else, like a box, if this can is too high. So we're actually just a little bit too high, because as we try to pull it out, it's still connected up here in the bracket. So we can do it. We're just going to have to cant it a little bit as we pull the can out, so that it has room to come free. And there we go. So again, you can see that maybe, I don't know if you can see it or not, but we are getting a little bit more water, so I'm trying to get that into the tray. All right, so in essence here now, our old garbage disposal is completely free of the old install, and we can pull that out, and we will be ready to put in our new one. So as I was putting this garbage disposal in my own house, I realized that some of the things were a little bit tricky to understand, and when I tried to shoot them in the under sink area, because of the lighting and the angles, it was difficult to get a good look at what we're doing. So I decided to go the extra mile for you, and I built an incredible simulation. Here's our simulated sink. So this is the sink drain from the top. All right, and then we'll go underneath our sink, and this is the bracket that is under the sink. So as I demonstrate how to disassemble this and reassemble it, we're going to do it here through our simulation as well, so you can get a better angle and better view. You're welcome. All right, so conceivably, if this particular mounting bracket that is installed in your current garbage disposal fits with the new garbage disposal that you have just purchased, you won't need to do this next step. You can skip it. But I'm going to swap it out for a couple reasons. One, I don't think it does fit, but also it's got, the new parts are nice and clean and shiny. You can see the new one here. It's got a brand new rubber grommet type thing in here. All looks a lot nicer than the one I have up there, so I'm going to swap it out. All right, the first thing we're going to need to do is loosen these 3 screws that apply pressure from the bracket to the underside of your sink. So we're just going to loosen these. You don't need to remove them entirely, but we want them loose so that we have access to a O-ring that is holding the bracket into place. So we're going to unscrew these. All right, now that gives us a little bit of play with our bracket. And what you want to have access to is this little O-ring that is underneath the bracket holder there. And we're going to pop that out. We're going to grab a flathead screwdriver, and you're just going to, under the lip there, pop that O-ring loose. And there is the O-ring. Now, once we've done that, now our other piece will slide off. All right, next is this last bracket. That should also fall away. And finally, there's a washer that is the last piece. Depending on how much plumber's putty was used during the initial install, you might need to chisel it away to get that washer off. So now, we'll go to the top of the sink. This piece is your drain. That should just pull away from the sink. Next, we need to disassemble the new mounting bracket. So just like we did when we uninstalled the garbage disposal, we'll need to pop this O-ring off of the bracket, and then all the parts will separate. Our sink baffle and our sink flange are going to drop in here, but before we do that, we want to make sure this is nice and clean and dry. And then we're going to put a bead of plumber's putty around the outside. All right, so let's pop this open. And then what we want to do is use a putty knife, and we're going to spread that putty all around the rim here and make sure you got a nice good coat. It's better to use too much than too little, I think. And we can always wipe away the excess once we have got it all finished. Okay, once you have your putty in place, you're just going to drop that down on there and push firmly. Once you've firmly set the drain into place, wipe away any excess putty. All right, we ensure that our excess putty is removed. We're going to lay down a couple paper towels. And then we'll drop our old garbage disposal on top, and that will help put some pressure on there and hold it firmly in place. Okay, next we're going to put into position our fiber gasket, our backup flange, and our mounting bracket. So the first thing that's going to go on is this fiber gasket, so that goes there. And then we follow that with the backup flange and the mounting bracket. All right, then we're going to take our O-ring and we're going to loop that around our final sink drain. You're going to have to pull it a little wide and wrap it around. And so once you've done that, now your pressure bracket will not come free. So as long as you've ensured that, then you should be in good shape. Again, the screws are gonna go into the initial bracket that we put in there. You don't want them to go just into the underneath of the sink. So make sure that it's going to connect to the bracket, and then we're going to tighten those evenly using our Phillips screwdriver. And those need to be pretty tight because it's creating pressure up against the sink to hold everything in place. So make sure those are tight. Okay, so one of the tricky things about making a garbage disposal replacement video I have found is that there are actually quite a few variations from garbage disposal setup to garbage disposal setup. So my instructions today are ideal for those that have a setup that looks like mine. But you should learn enough from this video to adjust if you have a different setup. But with that said, here's a couple of the issues that are in play here. Number one, I have a angled discharge tube. You might have a straight discharge tube. I have a discharge tube that requires a bit of an extension so that it reaches the drain pipe that I have in there. You might not need that. If you're using the straight pipe, it may be longer than this, or it might be shorter. If it is longer, or if it is shorter, then you're going to have to trim it down to the size that you need using a hacksaw. All right, so with that said, we're going to set this up using the setup that I have. So the first thing we're going to do, and this is the old disposal from my demonstration here. Obviously, you'll be doing this on your new disposal. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our grommet into this hole here. So there's your grommet. Then you'll take your discharge tube and you're going to place that on the outside of it. And then you'll take your metal flange and you're going to swing that around on that, and then grab your two screws and screw it into place. These screws need to be tight. And that should go straight down. Okay, now, if you need a longer discharge pipe, then you're gonna need an extension. Now, I have one that was with my old dishwasher. So I'm just gonna use that same piece. It's already cut to length, and I'm just gonna slide that on there. So we'll take our slip nut, slide that up. We'll take our grommet here, and this is conically shaped, so you want the wider side up. That's going to slide on and up like this, and then drops down, and then you'll take your extension piece and slide that up and then tighten. So ideally you get this length and everything all set before you work on installing the disposal, so that you don't have to mess around with it. All right, that's on there nice and tight. Now, the next thing is, this here is if you have a dishwasher. All right, if you do not have a dishwasher, do not touch this, okay? Do not touch. But if you do, grab your little wrench, and you're gonna stick it in there, and you're gonna turn it about a quarter turn and pop this piece out. This is where we're gonna connect our dishwasher hose. If you don't have a dishwasher, do not remove this piece. All right, just a quick note about garbage disposal electrical connections. This is my old disposal, and you can see here that it has a hardwired in power cable, and that makes it a lot easier. All you have to do is plug this into the wall. Now the new one we have does not have that. It just, you'll see a gap down there, and it's intended for one of two things. Either you wire it directly into your electricity, which is a tricky thing that I don't want to get into today. So if that's what you have and want to do, you'll have to check out another set of instructions or video. Or what we're going to do is we're going to take our new disposal that doesn't have a plug, and we're going to add one called an Easy Connect plug. And that's real easy to do, and it will basically convert our new disposal into a hardwired one like this, so that you can just plug it in directly to the wall. All right, let's get to that. We'll start by turning our garbage disposal upside down, look at the bottom, and we have one screw that we need to remove, this green screw here. And then we'll take our piece. There's really only one way you can put it in, but you can see here, this is where it's going to connect to the little metal receiving circuits there. So that's going to slide into that hole, and then we push it to the, in this case, to the right, and it should slide onto those connectors, and then we'll replace our screw in the hole right here. All right, so now our power is connected and ready to go. We're not going to plug it in yet, but I wanted to do it so I didn't have to mess around with it while I was upside down and in tight quarters. All right, so we're using our can as leverage here so that we don't have to hold the whole weight of the disposal. We want the disposal angled so that the dishwasher outflow and the drain is lined up, or will be lined up with where our drains are. So I think I've done that pretty well. I'm canting this so that I can get this underneath the bracket, and then we're just going to maneuver it into place so that it is directly underneath the drain. And you might need to maneuver this a little bit. And in this case, our okay, I think we're pretty much centered. Now we'll take our wrench and we're going to insert it in our bracket here, but we're going to turn the bracket the other direction. Now, we're not quite centered yet here. The can needs to be angled better. Alright, there we go. And so then we're going to turn this the other way so that it locks into place. And again, make sure that before you get it real tight that the drains are going the direction you want them to go. Okay, so there we go. Make sure it's secure and make sure it's level and that you actually inserted the garbage disposal into the drain and that it's not a little bit off kilter. It needs to go in there straight away, otherwise you're going to get a leak around the edge there. All right, now we're ready to reattach our hoses. So I will start with the dishwasher hose, and I'm just going to line that up on here, push that all the way in nice and far and tight, and we'll take our flathead screwdriver and tighten the single screw on the bracket. Again, you're going to want this nice and tight so that there's no leaks. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to slide this up into position. So first, we need to put our other slip nut on. And again, this is going to go with the wider side up. So that slides up here. Oh, I'm sorry. First, we got to put our nut in. That goes up in here, and then this goes, again, the wider side up. And like I said, once that's in place, that just holds our slip nut, and then we don't have to worry about it. All right, so we'll line this up here, and make sure that it is tight and level. And then we drop our slip nuts down and tighten both sides. And so then this one here, we need to also tighten. All right, that's pretty tight. Okay, so now we should be secure here. We have this secured and we're secure at the top. Well, we'll need to do a leak check and make sure that we don't have any leaks that surprise us. All right, make sure your power's back on and the water's back on. And let's give it a test. So we're gonna hit this button right here. All right, there we go, I hear it. Everything's working. All right, we'll turn that off, turn off our water, and then we're going to check for leaks. So let's take our stopper, we're going to plug up the sink here, and we'll add some water, and then we'll check underneath and see if we have a leak. What we're checking for is a leak around here where we put our plumber's putty. If we didn't do a good job with that, there could be a leak. So we're going to check that, and we're going to check our connections to the drain. All right, that should be good, and then we'll go down below and we'll take a look. So you're looking for any sign of water down here. Especially right here underneath the sink bracket, and then of course check all your hose connections. At some point you're going to want to run a bunch of water through here just to make sure again that there are no leaks. Okay, well that's it for today. I hope you found this video helpful. This was a challenging project and not for everybody. This is one that I was borderline on whether or not I should just call a plumber to have him deal with it, but we tackled it and we got it done, and no plumber, so I'm happy about that. If you found this video helpful, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you need the parts, they're all listed below in the description. And until next time, this has been Steve for things that even I can do.